It was a Thursday evening when the world seemed to collapse around Daniel. His fiancée, Claire, had left without warning, her voice trembling as she whispered words that felt like knives slicing through his chest. "I found myself with someone else." She didn't wait for an answer, didn't care to explain the emptiness she left behind. She packed her things, placed her wedding ring on the coffee table, and walked out, leaving a silent apartment echoing with the ghosts of their laughter, their plans, their shared dreams. Daniel stood frozen, staring at the ring, feeling as if every heartbeat was a hammer, pounding the reality into him that the woman he loved had vanished, not just from his life, but from his very sense of worth. The air felt heavy, thick with the suffocating weight of betrayal, and yet, in that crushing despair, a spark of determination ignited. He didn't cry openly, not at first. Instead, he channeled the emptiness into action, into rebuilding the pieces of himself that had lain dormant while he had poured his world into Claire. He began waking up before sunrise, running through empty streets as the city slept, feeling each step pound the grief out of his legs. He joined a gym, lifting weights until his arms shook with exhaustion, watching his body transform as if sculpted by the very heartbreak that had once paralyzed him. Cooking, once a mundane chore, became an art form. Daniel experimented with flavors and techniques he had never dared try, savoring the creation as a statement to himself. He was capable, he was worthy, and he was alive. Hobbies he had abandoned, painting, writing, photography, re-entered his life like long-lost companions, filling spaces he didn't even realize were hollow. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel's evolution was quiet but unstoppable. Then came the hiking group, a community of strangers who spoke in laughter and shared stories on winding forest trails. On a mist-laden Sunday morning, he met Elena, a woman with eyes that reflected curiosity rather than judgment, a smile that carried encouragement instead of expectation. She didn't rush him. She didn't push for intimacy or confessions. She simply existed alongside him, challenging him gently to try harder, to push further, to look deeper into his own strength. The first time he realized he enjoyed her company, it wasn't because of attraction. It was because she made him feel alive again, like discovering a secret path through the woods of his soul. Elena's presence awakened something Daniel had long buried, the idea that love could be patient, respectful, and nurturing. They hiked through trails where the fog thickened like secrets unspoken, their conversations lingering on topics of dreams and fears rather than confessions of desire. Daniel learned to trust the silence between them, and in those silences, he rebuilt a confidence that Claire had dismantled with her sudden departure. He smiled more freely, laughed without restraint, and for the first time in months, he slept with a calm mind. It was during a late autumn evening, as the golden light fell across the park benches, that the past collided with the present. Claire returned, not with the tears of remorse Daniel had imagined, but with a composed, deliberate smile, the same woman who had walked away months ago, now appearing to have realized her mistake. She tried the words she thought might pierce his newfound armor. "Daniel, I made a mistake. I see now. I want to come back. Can we try again?" Her eyes were pleading, but Daniel's had hardened with a depth forged in solitude, sweat, and self-respect. He didn't answer immediately. He let her words linger, like shadows stretching across a room at dusk. He watched the subtle signs of her nervousness, the way her hands twisted, the hesitation in her voice, the carefully measured steps she took toward him. But most importantly, he noticed Elena, standing a few paces behind him, a quiet pillar of strength and support. Daniel had spent months cultivating his identity, nurturing his passions, and discovering a version of himself that Claire had never known, never appreciated. And now, the balance of love and power had shifted. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the wedding ring Claire had abandoned months before, now cleaned and polished, glinting in the soft light. He held it out, not with desperation, not with longing, but with a calm assertion of his worth. "This belonged to the man you left behind," he said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of every sleepless night and every tear shed in silence. "I am no longer him. I am someone else, someone complete." He placed the ring on the table between them, not as an offering, but as a declaration. Claire's face paled, the realization dawning too late. She had assumed absence would make him crumble, that time would erode his heart into submission. But she had underestimated the alchemy of grief, self-discovery, and genuine connection. The man standing before her had transformed. He was a force sculpted by loss, refined by dedication, and protected by self-respect. And then Daniel turned to Elena. The recognition in his eyes was subtle, but unmistakable, a bond forged not in desperation, but in shared growth and understanding. He didn't need to speak, the language between them was already fluent. Claire, watching the quiet exchange, understood with a pang of regret that her return was too late. The timing that had once favored her now favored the man she had abandoned. Daniel didn't mock, didn't rage. He simply smiled, a soft, confident curve that carried the weight of every trial he had endured. Claire faltered, realizing that the opportunity she thought she could reclaim was gone. Elena took his hand, not possessively, but gently, grounding him in the present and whispering words that needed no translation. "You've earned this. You've found yourself." As the evening sky deepened into twilight, Claire's figure became a silhouette of the past, fading into the distance while Daniel stood firmly in the light of his own growth. He had loved, he had lost, and he had rebuilt himself from the ashes of heartbreak. And in that reconstruction, he had found not just resilience, but a love that complemented his strength rather than threatened it. Time, Daniel realized, was the ultimate teacher. It revealed that loss could become the most precise architect of destiny, that patience could outshine desperation, and that self-respect could transform a man abandoned into a man fulfilled. Claire's return was a reminder, not a temptation, a mirror reflecting the path he had traveled, the choices he had made, and the power of standing unwaveringly in one's own truth. And so, as the wind carried the last echoes of Claire's footsteps, Daniel embraced the warmth of the hand in his, the laughter of a shared adventure, and the knowledge that love, when aligned with respect and timing, could not be forced, only earned. And this was a love earned not out of fear of loss, but out of celebration of growth, resilience, and the unyielding strength of the human heart.